music.
Bat is not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall, and I guess you just rhyme with Bat Minutes!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Bat Minutes and Robin, the podcast where we break down and analyze every minute of Joel Schumacher's infamous Bat Bomb, Batman and Robin, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
I am your other host, John Parker.
Yeah, and we have returning to the See Out the Week, someone who's, a guest of the show. I don't know. That was an avenue I was going down. I was like, I have no idea what I'm about to say. Let's see what happens.
Hey, it's Friday. What do you expect? Who cares?
Yeah, gotta get down on Friday. I'm bringing it back, people. Yes,
Hey,
we have Allyson.
She's a legend now on Instagram, can I just say?
I remember seeing rumblings of this, and it's just like, oh yeah, now it's like this vintage song. It's like, I thought that was like 2 years ago that came out. Like,
oh, God. Calling that vintage is breaking my heart.
Rebecca Black is a big thing in the queer community as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The thing is now, as a girl, she's like, oh yeah, mid-20s. It's like, what? No, she's not. But yes, of course, the previous episodes, we have Allison's back. Hey!
Hi! Yay!
But we're here to talk about Minute 12, which opens the opening seconds of Minute 12. Seas, freeze, fleas? And it ends a minute later with some crusaders getting ready to cast off.
Ooh. We literally have the impending destruction of Gotham as we start here. Like, there's no way back now. Gotham is gonna be destroyed, and Batman's lost, right?
Well, we have to get into this now. Like, so what is Freeze's whole deal here? Like, what's he doing? Like, was he always planning to launch a rocket with Batman in it? Or was he always just planning to launch? Every time I have to say launch a rocket, I always go launch a locket. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
I think last year it kept happening with Two-Face, where I kept saying cost a coin instead of
Cost a coin,
toss a coin.
I'm just going to say it's an Irish thing. I don't know. There you go.
But I don't know. Yeah, so was he always going into this like, yes, I'm planning to launch a rocket into the sky that's going to fall onto Gotham and destroy quite a large bit of it. Batman may or may not be in it. And the mentality behind this
it's
is
a plus.
Yeah, that is like, oh, if Batman should happen to be there, great.
Yeah, I think he was going to launch the rocket anyway. That's his plan. Because I'm assuming the rocket will freeze Gotham. It doesn't actually explain this very well. But he didn't know Batman was turning up. Remember? Like, Batman sort of got the call at the... He probably thought, well, he might come. I don't know.
I think that there's an argument that we said that maybe the whole thing is like, oh, I know Batman's going to come, and this is how I'm going to kill him. I'm going to get him in the rocket, and I'm going to launch it into space. And... But at the same time, I don't know, because he does have this, you'll see in a second, he has this flying glider thing. Was he always like, or maybe he was like, I'm going to fly this rocket back home. But now that Batman's here, I guess I better blow it up, or better let it crash, or whatever.
So I'm right. The plan is it'll crash, and it'll release the freeze ray thing somehow, right? And it'll freeze Gotham.
I think, though, because Batman does say it's going to turn Gotham into a crater. I think it's just going to land.
You think it's just a bomb?
It's just going to blow up. Yeah, it's just going to be... I don't even think it's a particularly explosive device. I think it might just be the sheer damage a rocket dropping on the city would do. With, I don't even know, though, if that would do that much damage.
Exactly. It doesn't... What's his plan?
I don't even get... He has no motivation for this, in theory, as the movie presents it. It's just like... He should be like, everything I'm doing to get this diamond to help me, so I can help my wife and stuff.
Yeah, this would make sense later on in the movie when he's teaming up with another villain we're going to see.
Yeah, because in that point, there's a point of escalation where it's like, oh, he's like, oh, now the world will suffer with me and all this kind of business. But at this point, he's just like, I'm just stealing the diamonds so I can help my wife, man. That's
because we all know women love diamonds, right? Oh,
yeah. Not that he's just laying them at Nora's feet, going like, "All right, this will bring you out of your coma, right?" Women be shopping.
I am surprised they don't make a joke about that, to be honest.
I mean, some of the jokes in this later on, that whole like, great stems, nice buds too. It's just like,
Oh
geez.
gosh, yeah, that was the one point where I was like really into the goofy nature of this, and then that happened, and I was like, oh, this is very much still a 90s superhero movie.
But again, Joel Schumacher attacking it from a different angle, being a gay man. He's like, well, I'm going to objectify the men too.
Oh yeah. He minute one, he is immediately in there going like, listen,
I quite appreciate that, the way he's like, well, okay, we have to put in sexy lady stuff because that's what movies want, but I'm going to sneak in some sexy man stuff.
And by sneak in, I mean obvious shot of their asses.
Gonna layer in as thickly
Just
as I
subtly
possibly
put
can.
in this.
It's a very butt-centric film, yeah.
Yes.
But yes, I can only assume dropping the rocket here. There's no real cause for him to have like revenge against anyone at the minute. It's like, but at the same time, like there's stuff in the novelization that does, not surprisingly, fleshes out the character. And it kind of alludes to why he might be in this the mindset to do that. Where they actually have a chapter prior where it's a flashback to Bruce Wayne meeting Victor Freeze way younger. Bruce Wayne's a teenager at the time, accumulating his skills to becoming Batman. And Victor Freeze is actually a famed and esteemed Olympian and decathlete. Apparently he's just like, a world famous Olympian. And,
okay, I'm not sure I like that.
Again, they just have to, why would a scientist be so buff unless he's also a decathlete?
Yeah, he can't just work out because he likes to. No.
Yeah, but they have a bit. So Bruce and Victor, he meets him as he's doing a long jump, and apparently he nearly sets the world record just casually doing it. But this is at university at night, the Gotham University, and no one's around. And he's just kind of getting tips on like, so how do you do these long jumps and stuff? And they actually note that two little things I can't help but think are nods. Bruce is watching him under the shadow of a giant oak, which is, they called Arnie the Austrian oak.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's the oak, right?
And later on, it says, Victor Freeze, born in Europe, which accounts for his slight accent. And it's like, you're taking the piss, right? Slight accent.
Slight.
But so we had this flashback to Mr. Freeze being an Olympian decathlete and been very famous and stuff. And Bruce meets him, and he's just like Nora comes over and takes, Victor away, and he's just like, oh, the decathlete is important to me, but nothing's as important to me as this woman. And it's like, it's all setting up little bits and bobs and stuff. But later on, during this scene, Mr. Freeze says to Batman, like, oh, I hope they remember you down there, unlike how they've forgotten me. And it's kind of like maybe he's planning to drop this rocket out of resentment, like, I was a famous guy, and then I didn't die in this accident, in this accident. But nobody cares about Freeze. Nobody's, he is just like, he's a blip to people now. He is world famous, Olympic, friggin' celebrated guy. And then he's like, no one cares if he's alive or dead at the minute.
Oh, okay, I like it now.
That's me reading between the lines, maybe, of like, I'm guessing that's, because otherwise this is just like, what was the point of that? Again, he could drop this on Gotham. He could land on friggin' top of his ice cream factory, blow up Nora Freeze as well. Like, you don't know.
Kills his wife, yeah. Oh, that'd be that'd be a good ending in a weird way.
That'd be like a nice ironic twist of like, I'm going to take revenge, but in taking revenge, it ends up taking the one thing that he truly cares about more than that.
Oh, why isn't that a major plot point? Is that too dark for this movie? Because that would be fantastic. Like, he goes so overboard, he takes this revenge and loses the wife in doing so.
That 100% should be a thing. But
speaking of freezing, though, he comes out with a hilarious line before he jumps out of the rocket. Freeze well.
Is that a hilarious line?
Well, that's what I mean.
See,
I mean, it's sarcastic.
I specifically have in my notes that could use some workshopping.
Yes. Yeah, like a lot of his lines.
Okay, at this point, too, like, I don't think he says it in this movie, but that could be a moment for I'll be back or I won't be back. Something.
You won't be back.
You won't be back.
You won't be back
Yeah,
because you're
this is-
dead.
Why not?
Because for all the movies to not have I'll be back in it, it's crazy that it's not a Batman and Robin. This is the movie that would relish having I'll be back in it.
And he, wasn't averse to putting it in other movies. He's done it in other things before.
Yeah. Oh no, they make a crack about it in Last Action Hero. The fact that he says it in other movies and stuff. So
Yeah. It's very strange. Freeze well. It's like, okay.
nobody says that. Nobody says free.
Yeah, was it like supposed to be like sleep well?
Oh God, I hope not. Or was it maybe it was like a commercial at the time or something? Like he was quoting, and now we don't get it.
It made me think actually. A couple of years ago, the last beer festival we held in the house.
Oh yeah, you're famous for your beer festivals.
That's how people don't know. Me and my friends used to in the before times, in the long ago.
Before they all had children.
We used to. Everyone would brew a barrel of beer, and then we just it was an excuse for a party. People come around, everyone tries the beer. We have a little competition, and it ended up just a weekend long session, basically.
Yeah, and somehow you never won, even though you a couple of times had a very nice beer.
Thing is, though, usually the people who won deserve to win, so I'll give them that at least. But I think the last one we had, it poured over into the Sunday, and I remember we went to the pub because they were like, "Well, we finished off everything here," and we're in that pub the entire goddamn day. But I remember a fisherman came in, a guy with all the waders on, and he had the friggin' rod and everything, and he was sitting with us talking for like a long time. And because everyone was a bit drunk and just kind of trying to be like sociable and nice and stuff, and my friend and actually previous guest of the podcast, Gary Gavigan, as this guy was leaving, he's like, "Okay, I'm getting ready. I gotta go going back out in the river tomorrow, so I gotta get to bed early." And Gary was like, "Oh yeah, catch well," and everyone there was just like, "What?
It makes sense, but it's weird.
Yeah, but to this day, this was like 7 years ago or something. To this day, people are still like, "Oh yeah, catch well, Gary." Jesus Christ.
He'll say to you, "Well, I was quoting Mr. Freeze."
Yeah.
Paraphrasing.
He's going like, "Why would you have me on for Batman and Robin? You know that's my favorite of the movies."
Oh God! And when he says it and he jets out of the rocket, as you alluded to before, he grows some damn wings.
Yeah.
I think it's stupid. I don't like the wings, but I think they look good. I think he looks like a moth. He has a moth quality in the moonlight, and I hate moths.
I will say this though, and I'm surprised they missed this trick. All right, he goes down, sprouts wings. Why isn't it in the shape of a snowflake?
Oh,
No.
It's an obvious.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, there you go. Right there. He's got a glider. It's shaped like a snowflake.
I never thought about that. Because does he normally have wings? Because
No,
he doesn't. Does he? It doesn't fit the character. It kind of doesn't make sense.
No. Like, I didn't hate that choice, but at the same time, you're right. That would have made that would have made so much more sense.
Yeah.
And he is extra enough to go, "Yeah, I'm going to make this in the shape of a snowflake."
Why not at this point? I mean, look at the whole suit.
Because it came with the rocket. I don't know.
Now, to me, like as I say, this doesn't fit the character. Like I think you'd imagine like a kind of icy blast from his boots or something to propel him, like a jet.
Yeah, an Iron Man type of thing.
Yeah, but like ice. That would work. Because I looked up some of the toys, and that's what one of them has. The Batman and Robin Ice Blast Mr. Freeze with action ice ray cannon and rocket thrusters. But
I think a lot of these, the toy people are probably like thinking up a lot more things. And we have to get the prep to go with it. So,
well, my only complaint with the toy though is it's not an ice blast; it's just rockets. So it's fire coming out of his feet. It's like to me, that doesn't work. That's stupid.
He very specifically would not like that.
He would hate it. Yeah, but think about his feelings, toy people. But it is only about £10/$12 on eBay. So I might buy one.
Holy
anyway.
crap! It's like, I guess nobody cares about merch for Batman and Robin. So you try to find a Bob action figure from the '89. It's like $30 at least. But like no. It's like we'll say though, in terms of Mr. Freeze accessories, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the goggles he's got going on here.
Yeah.
One, Don't know how he got them on. Don't know if he had to, in front of Batman, take off his helmet, put on the goggles, and then put the helmet back on at one point when we just didn't see that happen. Or like if they're inbuilt into the helmet somehow. I don't know. But I will say, though, Mr. Freeze having goggles is a distinct reference to the Batman animated series, because that was the first time the character did have goggles. Mr. Freeze, iconically now, is a guy, a dome head, bald, not, a dome over his head and also bald.
Yeah, watch what you're calling him, eh? As a fellow dome head.
Hey, I was bald first, John. Let's not get into this. Let's not get into a baldness competition, all right? But yeah, always had very distinct red goggles. Well, don't know why these ones aren't red. That would have been even nicer. But I bring this up specifically now, and quite a happy coincidence that you're here, Allyson, because on your Facebook, I noticed that your profile picture is you with one Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yes.
the thing is, the design, Guillermo del Toro directed the Hellboy movies. And the guy who designed Mr. Freeze for the Batman animated series was Mike Mignola, the creator of the Hellboy series.
I didn't know that. What the hell?
And it's asked by Bruce Timm early on. It's like, yeah, could you just design some characters for us? And the only one they ended up using was Mr. Freeze. And once you know that about, Mike Mignola designed Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, I can see it.
Even seeing like the beginning of Heart of Ice, they emphasize these red circles coming out. And it's like, Mike Mignola friggin' loves goggles. He friggin' loves goggles.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Well, doesn't Hellboy wear goggles in the comics sometimes?
Yeah, then friggin' Lobster Johnson just looks like Mr. Freeze. It's almost the same color scheme at some points. Friggin' Abe Sapien has goggles on. And I think even people don't have goggles. Mike Mignola frequently draws people with like big round eyes with no pupils or irises. So it's like, yeah, this is a real thing that dude is into.
But does Guillermo del Toro love goggles? I'm trying to think. Are there any goggles in Shape of Water?
Allyson, you're tight with him. You ring him up and see what he says there.
I very specifically have a Shape of Water poster on my wall, so I just went and looked at it. Which it does not have goggles on that poster.
You'd think it would. It's all about water.
Yeah. But should also say, though, later on when they did that redesign of Mr. Freeze, it was weird. Because, you remember, John, we talked about it when we did like that Holiday Nights thing for the Patreon.
Yeah.
They redesigned the Joker, and he had like black eyes with a white pupil. And it was a bit... What? And then Mr. Freeze, they come in as well. He's like, his eyes are black, and he's got a red pupil. And it's like, are they saying now he's modified his eyes so he doesn't need the goggles anymore?
He's tattooed his eyeballs, which is all the rage now.
Yeah, because in further Mike Mignola stuff, within those episodes, you discover that Mr. Freeze doesn't have a body anymore. He's actually on like spider legs. He's like a head with just spider leg bodies, which could be I don't know if it's a reference or if it's just Mike Mignola just rolling with the punches, but like he's got several characters who are just like heads on. It's what's it? Herman von Klempt was a character from Hellboy. If you see pictures of that character, looks exactly like Mr. Freeze in those episodes. And they actually have in the Batman Beyond episode where they bring Mr. Freeze back, the opening shot of him, identical to Herman von Klempt. So I'm assuming that they're putting it in as a nod to Mike Mignola.
Definitely. I mean, they're both German as well.
Yeah. People remember the Hellboy movie, Cronin, the villain. Cronin or Cranin? I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I can't remember how you pronounce it.
From the first one.
Yeah. Remember he had the big wide goggle eyes.
Yeah, isn't it Cronin?
Oh, well, yeah, well, maybe.
I can't remember.
I'm sure it would be... Allyson, ring up while I'm going to ask him. How do you pronounce this guy's name?
Putting me on the spot. I don't remember.
Right, get Del Toro on the pod right now. And
if would that I could.
I think Cranon used to be obsessed with cryogenics in the comics as well. He had a cryogenic chamber and stuff. So I think like there's a whole bunch of little allusions to Mike Mignola and Mr. Freeze here. And his character, the amazing screw-on head, also looks a lot like Mr. Freeze. And apparently, that was a very distinct thing to the comics. Or not to the comics, to the animated series, because they didn't canonize the Mr. Freeze having goggles in the comics until the New 52 Red Hood and the Outlaws, which came out in May of 2012.
Wait, so that's like really?
That's like friggin' 20 odd years after he's been in the anime series. Never had goggles in the comic. Apparently, there was like a one shot where he had like Legends of the Dark Knight from like 95. They had like one issue where he had goggles on. Every other time he saw Mr. Freeze in those 20 years, it never bothered having it, even though to a lot of people, he's supposed to have goggles on. That's his whole deal. But anyway, I noticed though, Mr. Freeze on his way out has the diamond, and I guess it's like a cup holder or something, just beside the door. He's just got a little, that's where you put your diamonds of your Robin
you
stuff.
need a little diamond holder, right, when you're rich.
I just like the I just like the idea of him inviting somebody like, here you can put your diamonds to.
Just casually, like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, it's like, thank you. That's very kind of you to have a place for me to put my diamonds. I appreciate it.
Well, you know, you don't want to lose them. You don't want to keep them on you at all times. You want a safe place. Yeah.
But, I just like the idea too that the diamond wasn't there. Like, oh, he has like a slushie or something. He's just like,
There are so many different purposes for.
They should have made. Did you have this in America? There was like a thing here, a toy called, was it Mr. Frosty, where it's like it makes like slushies, but it's for kids. It's like a toy.
oh yeah, I remember the Mr. Frosty is such fun. He made treats for everyone.
That's
I remember
it. They could have done a
drilled into you in the 90s as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm sure we had something.
You probably had
like
the same thing, just under a different name. But they should have made a Mr.
Right.
Freeze branded one.
Oh, that. I was wondering if the negative response of this had any effect on that sort of on the branding and on its merchandising.
I don't think it did, you know, because
I was wondering if the whole intro scene of them skating and a hockey, if that was going to lead into some Batman on Ice show that just did not ever happen because nobody liked this movie.
Well, you say that right. The critics didn't like this movie. Kids liked it, except for Niall. Most kids were like they didn't see the difference. So the merchandise sales, I think, were still quite high.
Oh, I mean, like we said, it's so many of the designs are built for. Okay, we're going to make a toy out of that. Yeah. It's going to. I mean, if I was a kid, if I'd seen this as a kid, I'd be like, I want that toy.
Exactly,
so...
and it's why like stuff that doesn't make sense in the movie does when you think of it in toy terms. Like Mr. Freeze here with wings, like that's stupid, but it's a new toy.
That would be a super good action figure
yep.
to have, where you can make the wings pop out.
Exactly.
But yeah, though, I have to say, Mr. Freeze almost, by sheer coincidence, nearly succeeds in killing Robin. Because he flies at that goddamn door. Robin's directly beneath him. It's like mere inches away from getting his head taken off.
Almost dies, but he does make it into the rocket somehow, against all odds, to save his buddy. And we get a real groaner.
Yeah.
Where he goes, Batman says to him, "Who invited you?" And his response is, "I was just hanging around."
It's all very just like, there's got to be better zingers than this, though. Like,
it's not even remotely amusing. It's funny because it's not funny.
I do know as well, in the novelization, they have him come in and he says, like, is it cold in here or is it just me?
That's better.
But I also thought as well, like, I associate that line with Demolition Man.
Yeah.
Because that's a callback in Demolition Man. Of course, written by Dan Waters, did Batman Returns. But at the beginning, friggin' Simon Phoenix says that to John Spartan. And then at the end of the movie, when they're reunited for the final battle, he's like, Stallone is like, is it cold in here or is it just me? Good memory. But I just wonder if Arnie was like, I'm not having that. It's like,
maybe.
It is affiliated with my arch nemesis. I will not have that in my movie.
Well, apparently, is this around the time they still didn't like each other, or have they buried the hatchet a bit here?
I don't know, because I don't know how much of that was like might have been buried early on, and they were keeping it going for
thing,
PR purposes.
Well, they did. Didn't they both have stakes in Planet Hollywood?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might have been because Arnie's a very shrewd business guy. I can imagine him being like, yes, we pretend we hate each other, and then we get the media, the tabloids to talk about it all the time. But so yeah, we got the Robin coming in to save the day for the first time since they hauled Batman out of that wreckage that Two-Face buried him under in the previous movie. So it's like, finally, this kid's paying off eventually.
He's doing something.
It did make me think, too. I remember that Batman Forever novelization when Batman was trapped under the rubble. And he had that inner monologue where he's all like, maybe this is finally it. Maybe I can finally die and be at peace. And this is like, this long, torturous life I've lived.
This kid won't let him.
I finally, now I'm at peace. And then Robin friggin' holds him out.
God damn it.
Just wonder the same thing's going on in Batman's head here. And I was like, okay, so I'm not under the wreckage of, the district attorney who got scarred because of me. But yada, yada, yada. He's like, okay, I'm frozen in a rocket. That a giant Iceman, who apparently was a famed scientist turned Olympian decathlete turned Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I guess I'm gonna freeze to death. But finally, my pain is over, and I can finally die.
My understanding of dying in space is that it's not as nice and pleasant as movies might make it to be. I think it's quite a painful experience. But there aren't that many space deaths. There's a few, and then there's the legend of the Italian brothers who apparently recorded Soviet cosmonauts dying in space. But it's largely regarded as fake. But they've got these recordings, that they got with their satellite equipment in their garden or whatever. But I think it's meant to be pretty full on. The only ones I can think of, I think there's a couple of. Oh, you know what? I wish I'd researched this. There's some Americans who died in space, but they didn't know until the re-entry that they were dead. So they went to recover them from the capsule, opened it, they were dead, and they'd been dead for a while. And I know there's a Russian... this is annoying me. You think being a historian who's obsessed with Soviet things, you think I would know the name of this guy. But there's a Soviet guy who went into space... and they knew the rocket was faulty, but he did it anyway because the main astronaut was supposed to be Yuri Gagarin, his best friend, who was a hero, obviously. He'd been to space first. And he wouldn't let him go. So he's like, well, I'll go, knowing he would die because it's like, this thing's a piece of crap. It's not going to work. And surprise, surprise, it didn't work. And there's audio of him basically cursing the idiots who designed it as he bursts into flames, pretty much. It's quite horrible. And you can see his funeral where there's literally about, I don't know, like 10 inches of charred bone. That's all that's left of him.
There's like the skeletal hand, like etching you into the
basically
the final. Like
that's pretty much what he was doing on the way down. Like, screw you, you pieces of crap.
Honestly, that's a mood right there.
But he did it to save his friend because he thought, well, Yuri Gagarin can't die. Like that'd be the worst thing ever.
Yeah. I do like.
Oh wait,
Batman...
Komarov. That's his name, Komarov, I think.
Yeah. But I do like the dynamic here of this dynamic duo. As when Robin comes in, Batman kind of gives him a little crap because this is again as ridiculous as this movie is, and people oh god the character is so wrong and stuff. All the kind of dynamic between Batman and Robin thus far has been pretty spot on because Batman is every time Robin takes a risk, and even if he's about to die himself, he would be like, "What do you think you're doing? Like, why are you risking yourself for this? I thought you were going to do this." He'd be like, "You're about to die, Batman. This guy's he's come to save you." But he'd still be like, "No, I told you to stay in the museum." So this all tracks to me as like, that's very Batman-ish reaction to be like, I thought you were going to stay in the museum, round up some thugs and stuff. And it's kind of playful, and it's like, but again, maybe it could be rightly pointing out like, all those thugs escaped then, huh? So that's a bunch more people I have to catch.
So
all right,
you've completely screwed up, haven't you?
And he doesn't get to do like the ultimate Batman thing would be to find out. Of course, he had the situation entirely in hand, and he actually was, had a bat thaw device in his gauntlet or some crap like that. That'd be the modern comics Batman, where he's prepared for every single goddamn contingency.
I'm surprised he doesn't have that, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I think this is back at a time where it's like, no, the character's allowed to be more fallible than that. Where nowadays it's like in the most hopeless of situations, it still always turned out that Batman knew exactly what he was doing and had a way out the entire time.
I prefer him being caught off guard. Like, he's not a superhero. He's a rich guy who wants to achieve justice with his money, which would be nice in the real world if rich people tried to fight for justice.
Robin pulls out, he's got a little bat laser, or Robin laser, bird laser, whatever.
Why has he got this?
They thought, he needs to get Batman out somehow, so...
I think that's literally it, because my first thought was, okay, it's a laser, okay. But when you actually look at the draft script, it explicitly says that this laser heats the ice to melt it. It's like, okay, so it's not just a laser, it's specifically designed to heat something without sort of damaging it. Because that could if that was a laser, it could just cut right through the rocket, right?
See, if they actually had it where Robin was a little kid, and because it's the late 90s, it could have just been a laser pointer he had. And it's like, they have a scene earlier where Bruce is like, we put that goddamn thing away, and then he brings it with him, and it's like, oh, it turns out the laser pointer actually thaws the ice or some crap like that. I used to
love annoying people with those.
Oh, that was his thing. It was always the thing, though. You know, John, that laser go in your eye and kill you.
Yeah. Blind you, at the very least.
Yeah. The mirror will bounce all over the room and take out everybody. It's insanely dangerous.
We were told, I don't know if that's just like over here, we were told they were very, very deadly.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if America had the laser pen scare of the 90s, Allyson.
I don't think so. It doesn't ring a bell.
Basically, it was just our parents trying to get us to stop screwing around, so they would lie and be like, "Oh, you can blind yourself with that thing."
I mean, yeah, like there's always a scare of like, oh, you could blind yourself with it, or. But I don't know if it was like as big of a trend, I guess.
I don't know if it would be like, I was very worried that Allyson would be like, yes, I lost a brother to a laser pointer. He did it in the mirror and it bounced right through his eyeball into his brain. And that was the end of him.
My God. Don't try it at home, people. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Although, speaking of the end of someone, I do appreciate that Batman just goes about like taking out this bomb and is just about to leave without even really saying to Robin,
See ya.
That's it, I'm out of here.
Bye.
Yeah,
best of luck.
I like his plan as well. He's like, you know what? We're just going to blow it up.
Yeah,
he doesn't know what's in that. There could be chemicals. But he's like, no, we're going to plant a charge and then we're going to blow this popsicle stand.
Yeah. It'd be great if he reprogrammed the rocket to go the same direction he let all those Joker balloons go in the first movie, where we're just like, I guess whoever is in the neighboring city is just going to get this big Smilex cloud of freaking balloons coming over the top of them.
Screw Metropolis. They've got Superman.
Or over the water. It's like, I guess that'll just all fall into the water. Dumping dangerous chemicals in water can come back and bite you in the ass, right?
Well, we all know chemical tests on... islands in the Pacific, nobody cared in the government, so yeah, it's perfectly fine. People still feel the effects to this day, but it's fine. It'll be all right.
Batman allowed a nuclear bomb to go off on top of Gotham.
Well, it could be. He doesn't know what's in that. It could be anything. Yeah. It could rain down ice like chemicals that freeze everyone it touches.
If I don't do this, Gotham will be rendered a crater. It's like, if you let it drop, it would have destroyed maybe a building. But by blowing it up, you have now released a gas cloud over the entire city.
Just makes me think of Team America, though, when they save Paris by destroying Paris, basically. But it's fine. They're like, it's okay, everyone. We got the terrorists. It's like Paris is in ruins.
That's Zack Snyder's whole freaking arc of Superman. It's like, I saved Metropolis. Like, you freaking destroyed Metropolis, what you did. God damn it. But yeah. So we do get. It looks like it's quite a hefty device he's hauling out of his ass here too. This big, apparently huge explosive device Batman just has in his pocket.
Yeah, well, as you do. I guess as you do if you're Batman. But
I know someone who keeps his wallet in his back pocket.
Yeah, that's pretty common in here, and I don't understand.
How do you sit down? It's weird. And so yeah, you know what?
See. This is the American thing where I'm like, oh. Somebody's going to steal that.
Well, and they might steal it. Yeah, that's another thing. I'd rather keep it in any other pocket. But maybe no one will steal a batarang or a bat bomb or whatever, but
Yeah. It's also very video gamey to me. This is like, he's got this massive device on his belt, but you don't see it when you don't need to see it.
Exactly. It's like Doom. It's like, how are you carrying 9 weapons? Oh.
Yeah. It's just like, oh yeah, I just bought a rocket launcher. It's like, you don't seem to be carrying a rocket launcher around, but like, okay, well, whatever.
Use your imagination.
But I guess the bat bomb is also magnetized. It sticks it to the side, And then it's basically just like, well, I'll see you, kid. And it's just about and so that is the end of this minute.
It's been...
If anyone got any other notes for this minute in particular?
not really.
My only note is that by saying bat bomb, I kept thinking of it as a bath bomb. And I'm like,
Yes.
surely, why has nobody made a Batman bath bomb based off of the
Yeah,
bomb from
Lush,
this?
we're talking to you.
Yeah, Lush, come
on, Lush. You can do a tie-in with us. We can promote it on the show. It can be a Bat Minute bath bomb.
We used to have a Lush Connect. We used to have Johnny Powers, frequent guest of the show, used to work for Lush, but we could have got.
Oh, does she not work for Lush now?
No, she's moved jobs.
Oh.
But yeah, so tragically, yeah, we don't have. We could have made a fortune on that. It would have been great though if he just had a bath bomb. A bath bomb's like, I've had a very stressful day. We're about to die.
I just need to relax.
I'm just filling up a bathtub over here.
Well, I mean, later on or was it earlier on? I don't even remember when he's thawing out Robin.
That's later. Yeah.
I was like, later. Yeah, where he's, spoilers, thawing out Robin. And it looks like a very comfortable hot tub that could use a nice little bath bomb in there.
But yeah, though, one of the things we're doing this season, because I don't know if you know about Allyson, but Batman and Robin is regarded as one of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah, which feels unfounded because I have seen some bad movies.
It's very much in that Razzies thing, where it's like, yeah, people piled on this, and it's like, you people need to watch more movies if you think this is the worst movie ever made.
Oh, that's what I would say for a lot of Razzies
Definitely.
nominations, where I'm like, you're just going for the easy picks.
But I would ask Allyson, what do you regard to be the worst film?
So Niall mentioned this to me before the podcast, and I thought about this a lot. To the point where I had a 10 movie short list because I was just like,
go.
I've watched a lot of bad movies in my day. I think the winner is going to be Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas.
Oh,
which
okay.
is awful. It is basically, hey, consumerism is very Christian of you. The movie. And it's like, it is, I was drinking while watching it. That is the only way to watch it.
That's how I usually watch this, I'll be honest.
It's not, well, because the thing is I like I watch a lot of bad movies to the point where it's like, yeah, I've seen, I don't know if either of you are Neil Breen fans.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
I've seen every Neil Breen movie. I saw his latest Twisted Pair in theaters, which I saw 2 days, after I had surgery. But I was like, listen, I need to see this in theaters. But, so I've seen some horrifyingly bad movies, but, they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
Whereas Saving Christmas was, unbearable, both on a filmmaking standpoint and also from a, moral, personal, but then I've seen a couple of other Christian type movies, and they're just they might be technically better made, but they are far less watchable than a Neil Breen.
That's the thing that doesn't really come out over here, is it? Maybe it does in Ireland.
Oh, we've got a bunch of those.
We don't have a lot of highly religious people here.
It's a real shocking decent celebrities. I think Ray Wise is in God is Dead and stuff, or God is Not Dead, or whatever you call it. But I don't know if they're just paid a bomb or something, or if there's.
I think it's that you get. I mean, honestly, they make money, and so over here, so I've there are a lot of times where I go to the movies and there's all the trailers before the movie, and there's 5 of them that are just these very specifically Christian movies, and I'm like, yeah, that's a thing that's going to come out, and I will very much not see that.
See, that is shocking to me. We do
not
have that. That's wild.
They make, they are often very low budget and make a ton of money, so...
That's Kirk Cameron's life, though, isn't it? Because he was child actor. I don't think he didn't really, because of those growing pains, that didn't really come out over here. Like, it's just, he's one of those names I just know from cultural osmosis, basically. But yeah, his life is basically now just like preaching to people about Christianity.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of those movies, and you know, I like nothing. Not saying anything against religion. Personally, I'm not religious, but like, you know, believe what you believe. But all of the movies that I've seen that are very preachy are also just like horrendously bad. One of the other shortlist movies I had was Christian Mingle, which is basically the advertisement for the dating service.
Oh my god!
It is so bad.
That almost, the title alone kind of wins me over. Like, I gotta see this thing, Christian Mingle.
Oh, it is rough. Well, but it's also like the reason that it didn't beat out because how Saving Christmas is that it's just like so almost surreal at times, where you're just like, is this written by people who don't know how life works? Like, there's at one point I think about this constantly, where they go to a restaurant called Steak and Cake, where they just have piles of steaks that are brought to them and like full-size cakes, and you're like nobody ordered anything. Like, you don't know what kind of steak you're getting. You're just getting this giant.
What if you want it
pile
blue?
of steaks.
You know.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh, that's not very, you know, wholesome of you. I don't know. It's like, but it's just like you're like, life doesn't work this way, and yet it does in this movie.
I'm trying to think if we've seen it. Actually, no. Wasn't that movie where Gary Busey turned into a dog a Christian movie?
What do you even call that again?
Wasn't it like Quigley?
Quigley, that was it, yeah. That's right, Mr. Quigley used to be my teacher. I don't know how I forgot that. But
Well, wasn't that a Christian thing? Or am I misremembering? Am I thinking of it different?
No.
I don't think so. I don't remember the Christian overtones to it, but
Maybe
it could
I'm
have been. Like,
I mean, there are quite a few where it's like they're not. Where you're just kind of shocked and you're brought back to, oh, this is suddenly a religious movie. A lot of them are also very weird too. Like, I watched a movie with a friend once where it was like a Christian romantic comedy where the main character is driving across America, and she basically gets like kidnapped by this small town.
Whoa.
Well, it's like basically she has like a ticket, and they're like, okay, you're not allowed to leave until you pay this off. So you're gonna stay in the jail and become our doctor. And you're just like, what's happening in this? How is this a movie? Anyways, so
Isn't that like that's like the plot line of Nothing But Trouble with like Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd? But that's like a nightmare comedy. Like, it's supposed to be like a horror movie almost, that they get stuck in the town.
Or is this supposed to be like, haha, isn't this so sweet? Now she's gonna live in this small town. Oh, that's another thing, is like the weird American like fetishization of small towns in like Hallmark movies. I could talk for like hours on that alone, because it's just wild. Where it's like, listen, she lives in the city, and you know how that means. And you're like,
it's just like, oh, you know, she's gonna go to that small town. She's gonna meet one guy. Maybe he's a baker. Maybe I don't know, he works.
He's like a carpenter, so he works with his hands or something like that. And it's like, I've watched a couple of those movies where I don't think they're quite bad enough to be the worst I've ever seen, but like the politics of like where they're like, oh, she's a career woman, you know what that means?
Oh, yeah.
Is maybe some of the worst I've ever seen.
She doesn't like Christmas because she's too into her job.
She's so busy. She's dating, but she's not married.
Shocking.
You're like,
Terrible. One final time before we head off into the dark, dark night, Allyson, would you like to promote your wares to our good listeners?
yes. So you can find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY, and you can also find my podcast at Fyxed Podcasts. That's FYX Podcasts. We do a video game podcast every week, and if you like listening to weird tangents, then you will like our show, because our episodes are long, and we talk about games, but we also talk about like the weirdest things. So
Me and Allyson, by random happenstance, had to talk about Knives Out.
Knives Out. Yeah.
For Knives Out.
Yes,
Upcoming.
which is going to be coming out eventually.
Yeah, sometime.
I don't know when our episodes are, but those were fun.
Yeah. And it became apparent with the within a few minutes. It's like, okay, I think Allyson could work on Batman.
This makes sense. Yeah.
We went on some tangents in those.
Yeah, I think that's what we're known for here as well. So that's all good. And do come and speak to us on all the usual, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Check out our website, thebatminute.com. And also, look us up on TeePublic, Sleepy Charlie Media. You can get some merchandise. You can get the new logo for this season. Will be on a shirt or a mug or a pillow or a face mask if you want me on your lips. If you really want that. I don't know why you would. I don't advise it. I don't recommend that. And we will see you again next week on Monday with more Batman and Robin and a new guest.
Next time, Point Bat. A human snowflake makes his escape and glides like a glacier towards a gothic landscape. Can our heroes hang 10 and catch a wave to intercept this descent of this icy knave? There's totally tubular times to combat, dudes. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
We'll be back.